The search and rescue operation took 3 days to complete. Council ships combed through the debris field, looking for survivors from both sides. They found escape pods, pieces of destroyed vessels, and the scattered remains of the great battle that had ended the war. Captain Sujin piloted her scout ship through the wreckage where the UES Indomitable had made its final attack. The explosion had been so powerful that very little remained of either ship. Twisted metal fragments drifted in space alongside organic matter from the destroyed Vorthon command vessel. "I've found something," she reported to Admiral Hyunwoo. "Human escape pod heavily damaged but still intact. Life signs are weak but present. The rescue took several hours. The escape pod's hull had been cracked by debris from the explosion, and its life support systems were failing." Inside, Captain Sujin found Captain Taeho and 2 other human crew members, all unconscious and badly injured. "Medical teams to Docking Bay 7, she called as her ship returned to the Council flagship. "We have human survivors who need immediate attention." Admiral Hyunwoo was waiting in the medical bay when the humans were brought in. The alien doctors worked frantically to save them, using techniques adapted for human physiology. It was the first time any of them had treated members of this strange new species. Captain Taeho woke up 2 days later to find himself in a hospital bed surrounded by curious alien faces. His first words were typical of his species. "Did we win?" "You won," replied Admiral Hyunwoo, who had been keeping watch by his bedside. "The Vorthon fleet was completely destroyed." "The war is over." "Good. How many of my crew survived?" 14 out of your crew of 23. "The others were lost when your ship was destroyed." "I'm sorry for your losses." Captain Taeho closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them with determination. "They died doing their duty. That's all any soldier can ask for." Commander Bo-Ram, who had also been waiting for the human captain to recover, stepped forward with questions that had been bothering him since the battle. "Captain Taeho, I need to understand something. Your ship was clearly outmatched by our enemies. Your weapons were primitive compared to theirs. Your armor was inferior, yet you achieved what our entire fleet could not. How?" The human captain thought for a moment before answering. "Commander, you fight to minimize casualties. You try to preserve your ships and your people. These are good things, but they are also limitations. Humans fight to win, regardless of the cost. When we commit to battle, we commit completely. But why? Why would you sacrifice so much for people you had never met?" Captain Taeho's answer revealed something fundamental about human nature. "Because that's what humans do. We help others, even when it costs us everything. We fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. It's not logical, but it's who we are." 3 days later, a fleet of human ships arrived in the system. They had come as soon as they received Captain Taeho's final transmission about the battle. Their leader was Ambassador Hei Jin, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a diplomatic manner. Admiral Hyunwoo met with her aboard the Council flagship to discuss humanity's place in the galaxy. The conversation was unlike any diplomatic meeting in galactic history. "Ambassador, we owe your people a debt that can never be repaid," began Hyunwoo. "Your ship and crew saved our civilization. Admiral, humans don't keep score when it comes to helping others. We did what needed to be done. But I'm curious about something. How did a single human ship accomplish what your entire fleet could not?" Commander Bo-Ram answered from his position at the conference table. "Your people fight differently than anyone we've ever encountered. You use chaos as a weapon. You change tactics constantly. You take risks that no rational commander would consider. But most importantly," added Captain Sujin, who had been invited to the meeting, "you never give up. Even when your ship was falling apart around you, even when the odds were impossible, your people kept fighting." Ambassador Hei Jin nodded slowly. "Admiral, I think it would help if you understood Earth's history. Our planet is a dangerous place. We evolved in an environment where everything was trying to kill us. Predators, diseases, natural disasters, and worst of all, each other." She activated a holographic display showing images from Earth's past. The galactic officers watched scenes of human warfare spanning thousands of years. Battles fought with primitive weapons. Wars involving millions of soldiers. Conflicts that lasted for decades. "We have been fighting for our entire existence as a species," continued Hei Jin. "Not just against external enemies, but against hunger, disease, natural disasters, and our own destructive tendencies. This has made us very good at war, but also very committed to peace when we can achieve it." "Your tactics make sense now," said Bo-Ram. "You're not just fighting individual battles. You're fighting for survival itself. Exactly. When humans go to war, we don't fight to win points or gain territory. We fight because we believe something important is at stake. In this case, it was the freedom of entire civilizations. Admiral Hyunwoo had been studying reports from the battle, trying to understand the human approach to warfare. Ambassador, your people violated every principle of civilized combat. You used excessive force, took unnecessary risks, and showed no regard for the established rules of engagement. That's true, Admiral. But did we win? Yes, you won decisively. Then, perhaps the established rules need to be reconsidered. The conversation continued for hours as the galactic leaders tried to understand humanity's unique perspective on warfare and conflict resolution. What they learned changed their entire understanding of combat strategy. Several weeks later, Admiral Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of his flagship as it patrolled the former war zone. The Vorthan Empire had surrendered completely after learning about human military capabilities. Their bioships had been powerful against conventional opponents, but they were not designed to fight an enemy that used unpredictability as its primary weapon. Captain Su-jin approached with the latest reports. Admiral, the Council has voted unanimously to invite humanity to join the Galactic Alliance. They're offering full membership with special status as military advisors. What was the human response? Ambassador He-jin accepted on behalf of Earth. She said humans would be honored to help protect civilized space from future threats. Commander Bo-ram looked up from his tactical station. Admiral, I've been studying human military history as part of the new training protocols. Did you know they once fought a war that lasted over 4 years and killed 60 million people? And that was just one conflict out of hundreds. It explains their effectiveness, replied Hyunwoo. A species that can survive that level of warfare develops very specific skills. Captain Su-jin had been working with human instructors to develop new tactical doctrines. The humans are teaching our officers something they call adaptive aggression. Instead of following fixed battle plans, commanders are trained to constantly change their approach based on enemy reactions. How are our people adapting to these methods? Better than expected. It turns out that predictable tactics were limiting our effectiveness more than we realized. The new human-inspired methods are showing excellent results in simulations. 6 months after the Great Battle, the first joint Human Council patrol fleet was launched. Human officers served alongside galactic crew members, sharing their knowledge of unconventional warfare, while learning about advanced alien technologies. Captain Taeho, fully recovered from his injuries, commanded one of the new hybrid vessels. His ship used Council technology powered by human determination and tactical flexibility. It was a combination that would prove formidable against future threats. The news of humanity's military capabilities spread throughout the galaxy. Species that had been considering aggressive expansion against their neighbors suddenly found themselves reconsidering. The phrase, fighting like humans, entered common usage among military forces everywhere. But perhaps the most important change was in how the galactic species viewed conflict itself. War was no longer seen as a chess game played by civilized rules. It was understood as a struggle for survival, where victory went to those willing to commit everything they had. Admiral Hyunwoo often thought about Chief Engineer Dayun, who had stayed behind to ensure the mission's success. Her sacrifice had saved millions of lives across dozens of worlds. In human terms, she had done her duty. In galactic terms, she had changed the course of history. The humans had arrived in galactic civilization and nothing would ever be the same. They brought with them technologies that seemed primitive, tactics that appeared chaotic, and a willingness to sacrifice that other species found difficult to understand. But they also brought something the galaxy had been missing: the absolute refusal to surrender when fighting for something they believed in. As Captain Su-jin said in her official report, "We thought we knew war. Then we met humans and learned that we had only been playing at conflict. Real war, the kind that decides the fate of civilizations, requires the courage to risk everything for what matters most." The galaxy was learning to fight like humans, and for the first time in centuries, civilized space felt truly safe. The Council fleet began to fight differently. Admiral Hyunwoo watched as his ships abandoned thousands of years of tactical doctrine and started copying the humans' chaotic methods. Captain Su-jin dove her scout ship directly into a group of Vorthan bioships, firing quantum torpedoes at point-blank range. Commander Bo-ram coordinated attacks that made no sense by traditional standards, but somehow worked against the confused enemy. "All ships?" ordered Hyunwoo. "Forget the manual. Fight like the humans. Hit them hard, hit them fast, and keep changing your methods." The results were remarkable. Fourth-hand bioships that had seemed invincible just hours before were now dying in large numbers. Their ability to adapt was being overwhelmed by the constant changes in tactics and weapons. The neural link that connected them was carrying more confusion than useful information, but the human ship was paying a terrible price for its aggressive tactics. The UES Indomitable looked like it should have been destroyed hours ago. Hull breaches covered its surface like wounds. Atmosphere streamed from dozens of holes. Its fusion reactor was running so hot that parts of the ship glowed red with heat. Captain Soo Jin, flying close support for the human vessel, could see the damage clearly. "Captain Tae-ho, your ship is coming apart." "How are you still fighting?" Chief Engineer Da-eun's voice answered over the comm, shouting over the sound of alarms and explosions. "Because we're too stubborn to die, that's how. This ship will keep fighting until I say otherwise," Lieutenant Ji-won reported from the human weapons station. "Captain, we're down to our last kinetic rounds. Most of our missile tubes are damaged. Forward armor is at 30% integrity." Captain Tae-ho studied his tactical display, which showed the battle situation. The Council fleet was winning, but the largest Vorthon bioship still remained operational. This massive vessel, easily 3 times the size of any other ship in the battle, served as the command center for the entire enemy fleet. Its neural link broadcast coordinated what remained of the Vorthon forces. "As long as that command ship survives, they can reorganize and adapt," said Tae-ho quietly. "We need to take it out." Commander Boram heard this over the open comm channel. "Captain, that bioship is heavily protected. Our combined fleet has been targeting it for the entire battle with minimal effect. It's too well armored and too heavily defended." Admiral Hyunwoo agreed. "Captain Tae-ho, that vessel is beyond our ability to destroy with conventional weapons. We should focus on the smaller ships we can actually kill." There was a long pause before Captain Tae-ho responded. When he did, his voice was calm and determined. "Admiral, there's nothing conventional about how humans fight. Lieutenant Ji-won, prepare the nuclear arsenal. Chief Engineer Da-eun, I need you to do something that's going to sound crazy." "Sir, everything we've done today sounds crazy. What do you need?" "Rig all our nuclear warheads to detonate simultaneously. Then reroute all power from life support weapons and shields to the main engines. I want everything this ship has left." The council officers listened to this conversation with growing horror. They began to understand what Captain Tae-ho was planning. "Captain," said Admiral Hyunwoo urgently, "you cannot be serious. A ramming attack with nuclear weapons? The explosion will destroy your entire ship." "Admiral, that's the point. But first we need to get my crew to safety." Chief Engineer Da-eun's voice came back over the comm, filled with determination. "Sir, I can automate the final approach. Set up a collision course that doesn't require manual control. But you need to give me 20 minutes to rig the warheads and program the navigation system." "Do it. All non-essential crew to the escape pods. Essential crew has 15 minutes to get this ready. Then you're evacuating too." Captain Soo Jin was horrified. "Captain Tae-ho, there has to be another way. Your ship has already done so much. You don't need to sacrifice yourselves." "Captain Soo Jin, that command ship is the key to their entire fleet. If we can destroy it, the remaining bioships will lose coordination. You can finish them off easily. But if it survives, it will adapt to our tactics and reorganize the fleet. The war will continue." Lieutenant Ji-won reported from the weapons station. "Captain, nuclear arsenal is armed and linked for simultaneous detonation. We're loading everything we have left. This will be the biggest explosion in the history of this sector." "Good. Chief, how are the engines?" Tae-eun's voice was strained as she worked frantically in the engine room. "All power rerouted to main drives. We'll have enough thrust to reach ramming speed, but the reactor will go critical from the overload. Even if the nuclear weapons don't destroy us, the engine explosion will." "Understood. All crew, you have 10 minutes to reach the escape pods." "That's an order." Admiral Hyunwoo watched helplessly as the human ship began its final maneuver. The UES Indomitable turned toward the massive Vorthon command ship and began accelerating. Its damaged engines blazed with nuclear fire as every remaining system was pushed beyond its limits. "Captain Tae-ho," he called desperately, "please reconsider. There must be another way. Admiral, humans have been fighting impossible battles for thousands of years. Sometimes the only way to win is to be willing to lose everything. Make sure our sacrifice counts." The human ship's escape pods began launching, carrying the crew to safety. But Captain Su-Jin noticed something on her sensors. "Captain Taeho, I'm reading life signs still aboard your ship. Someone didn't evacuate." Chief Engineer Dayun's voice answered her. "That would be me, Captain. Someone needs to make sure this bucket of bolts reaches its target. The automation is good but not perfect. If the Vorthons damage our engines during the approach, manual control will be needed." "Dayun, get to an escape pod." "That's an order," commanded Captain Taeho from his own pod. "Sorry, sir. Can't hear you over all these alarms. Must be a communications malfunction." Captain Su-Jin realized the human engineer was lying. She was staying behind to ensure the mission succeeded, knowing it meant her death. The UES Indomitable accelerated toward the Vorthon command ship like a guided missile filled with nuclear fire. The massive bioship turned its weapons toward the approaching threat. But its organic systems had never been designed to stop a kamikaze attack by an entire battleship. Bioweapons struck the human vessel, tearing new holes in its already damaged hull. The ship's armor failed completely in several sections. Atmosphere and debris streamed behind it like a comet's tail. But it kept coming. "All ships clear the area," ordered Admiral Hyunwoo, "maximum distance from the impact zone." The Vorthon command ship tried to move, but bioships were not built for quick maneuvers. It was too large, too slow, and the human vessel was coming too fast. At the last moment, Chief Engineer Dayun's voice came over the comm one final time. "For Earth, and for every world that needs protecting." The UES Indomitable struck the Vorthon command ship at the junction between its main hull and primary weapon cluster. The nuclear weapons detonated exactly on impact, creating a brief artificial star that could be seen from the other side of the solar system. The explosion vaporized both ships instantly. The shockwave damaged vessels thousands of kilometers away. For several minutes, the battle stopped as everyone stared at the expanding cloud of radioactive plasma that had once been two warships. When the sensors cleared, the Vorthon command ship was gone. With it went the neural link coordination that had made the enemy fleet so dangerous. The remaining bioships drifted in confusion, unable to coordinate their attacks or share tactical information. Admiral Hyunwoo looked at his tactical display. The enemy still outnumbered his forces, but they were no longer fighting as one organism. They were individual ships, confused and frightened. "All council ships," he ordered, "attack at will. Show them what we learned from our human allies." The final phase of the battle was swift and decisive. Fourth-hand bioships that had seemed invincible were destroyed one by council forces fighting with human tactics. The war that had lasted 3 years ended in a single engagement. As rescue ships moved to collect the human escape pods, Admiral Hyunwoo reflected on what he had witnessed. The humans had shown them something beyond advanced weapons or superior tactics. They had shown them what it meant to fight with absolute commitment. The galaxy would never be the same. The battle began exactly as Admiral Hyunwoo expected it would. His remaining council ships opened fire with quantum torpedoes and plasma cannons, targeting the nearest Vorthon bioships. The familiar light show of energy weapons filled the dark space between the fleets. The results were also exactly as expected. The Vorthon bioships absorbed the energy attacks, their living hulls glowing briefly before adapting to the new threat. Within minutes, the quantum torpedoes were having minimal effect. The plasma cannons heated the enemy ships, but their organic systems quickly evolved cooling mechanisms. "Same as always," muttered Commander Bo-Ram from his tactical station. "They're learning faster than we can hurt them." Captain Su-Jin, watching from her scout ship position, saw the human vessel approaching the Vorthon formation at incredible speed. The UES Indomitable was moving far too fast and getting far too close. Any reasonable commander would maintain safe distance and use long-range weapons. "Captain Taeho," she called over the comm, "you need to reduce speed and maintain formation. The enemy bioweapons have a maximum range of 50,000 kilometers. The human captain's response was immediate and shocking. "Thank you for the information, Captain Su-Jin. We'll be sure to get much closer than that." The human ship continued its charge directly into the heart of the Vorthon fleet. At 30,000 kilometers from the nearest enemy vessel, Lieutenant Jiwon's voice crackled over the comm system. "All weapons ready, Captain. Targeting solutions locked. Fire everything," ordered Captain Taeho. What happened next? Changed everything. The galactic species thought they knew about warfare. The human ship erupted, in light and flame as dozens of weapons fired simultaneously. But these were not energy beams or guided missiles. Solid chunks of tungsten metal shot out from the ship's guns at incredible speed, moving so fast they were barely visible even to advanced sensors. The first kinetic round struck a Vorthan bioship before its organic systems could register the threat. The tungsten projectiles punched through the bioarmor like knives through soft flesh, creating massive holes that sprayed organic matter into space. The damaged bioship tried to heal itself, growing new tissue to fill the wounds. But before it could complete the process, more kinetic rounds struck different parts of its hull. Then explosive shells hit the same spots, tearing apart the partially healed tissue. Then incendiary rounds set the organic matter on fire with chemicals that burned in the vacuum of space. "Impossible," whispered Commander Boram. "They're changing ammunition types faster than the bioship can adapt." The human ship was not finished. As the first Vorthan vessel died in flames, Captain Tejo ordered his ship directly into the enemy formation. The UES Indomitable smashed between two bioships, its heavy armor scraping against their organic hulls and tearing long gashes in their sides. "They're using their ship as a weapon," said Sujin in amazement. "Who does that?" Lieutenant G1's weapons continued firing in all directions. When kinetic rounds proved effective against one target, she switched to explosive shells against another. When a bioship began adapting to explosives, she fired rounds filled with acid that ate through organic armor. When the acid stopped working, she used rounds that released clouds of metal particles that clogged the bioship's sensory organs. The Vorthan Neural Link Network, designed to share successful defensive adaptations across the fleet, became a liability. Information about kinetic weapons spread to all ships, but before they could adapt, the humans switched to explosives. Data about explosive resistance was shared, but then the humans used incendiary rounds. Each time the bioships began to evolve a defense, the humans changed their attack method. "Sir," reported Ensign Minho from his sensor station, "the human ship is taking massive damage. Their primitive armor is being breached in dozens of places." Admiral Hyunwoo could see the truth of this report on his tactical display. The UES Indomitable's hull was torn and burning. Atmosphere leaked from multiple holes. Their fusion reactor was running dangerously hot, pushed beyond safe limits to power their weapons and engines. "Captain Tejo," he called over the comm, "withdraw to a safe distance. Your ship needs repairs." The human captain's response came back immediately, his voice calm despite the chaos around him. "Negative, Admiral. We're just getting started." Chief Engineer Da-Un's voice could be heard in the background of the human bridge, shouting over alarms and explosions. "Reactor at 120%. Hull breaches on decks 4, 7, and 9. We're losing atmosphere." "Can you keep her running?" asked Captain Tejo. "Sir, I can keep this bucket of bolts flying until the laws of physics give up trying." The human ship continued its rampage through the Vorthan formation. Instead of the careful, measured combat favored by galactic species, the humans fought with brutal efficiency and complete disregard for their own safety. They rammed enemy ships, fired at point-blank range, and used weapons in ways that violated every principle of civilized warfare. Commander Boram watched his tactical displays with growing amazement. "Admiral, the Vorthan formation is breaking apart. Their neural link is carrying panic and confusion instead of tactical information. They don't know how to respond to this kind of attack." It was true. The bioships had evolved to fight against predictable energy weapons and coordinated fleet movements. They had never encountered an enemy that used chaos as a tactical doctrine. Every time they adapted to one human strategy, Captain Tejo would do something completely different. When the Vorthans tried to surround the human ship, Tejo accelerated straight up relative to the galactic plane, then came diving back down through their formation, while Lieutenant Ji-Wan fired in all directions. When they attempted to coordinate a group attack, he targeted their command bioships with concentrated kinetic fire, disrupting their neural link communications. Inspired by the human tactics, Admiral Hyunwoo began issuing new orders to his own fleet. All ships close to minimum range. Forget defensive formations. Concentrate all fire on individual targets until they're destroyed. Then move to the next. Captain Sujin modified her scout ship's quantum torpedoes to detonate in random patterns instead of the precise sequences recommended by tactical manuals. The unpredictable explosions confused Vorthan bioships that were trying to adapt to the weapon signatures. But it was the humans who continued to lead the charge. The UES Indomitable, now trailing atmosphere and burning debris, carved through the enemy fleet like an angry shark. Captain Tejo seemed to have no concept of retreat or cautious tactics. When his forward weapons were damaged, he spun his ship around and used the rear guns. When enemy bioweapons locked onto his ship, he flew directly at them instead of away, confusing their targeting systems. These humans fight like they have nothing to lose, observed Commander Boram. No, corrected Admiral Hyunwoo, beginning to understand what he was witnessing. They fight like they have everything to protect. The tide of battle was turning. Vorthan bioships, bred for warfare against predictable opponents, found themselves unable to cope with human unpredictability. Their neural link network, once their greatest advantage, now spread panic faster than tactical information. But the cost was severe. The human ship was dying around its crew, held together by determination and Chief Engineer Da-Yoon's refusal to let physics defeat her ship. Smoke filled the human bridge. Sparks flew from damaged control panels. Yet Captain Tejo never slowed his attack. "Captain," called Admiral Hyunwoo, "your ship cannot take much more punishment. Please withdraw to safety." Captain Tejo's response would be remembered by every survivor of the battle. "Admiral, humans don't withdraw when others need help. We double down." As if to prove his point, the human ship accelerated toward the largest concentration of enemy vessels. Weapons blazing and hull burning, the UES Indomitable had become something beyond a warship. It had become a symbol of human determination in the face of impossible odds. The galaxy was learning what it meant to fight like a human. The human ship dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler system, like a metal asteroid thrown by an angry god. Captain Sujin watched from the bridge of her scout ship as the massive vessel slowed down using what appeared to be simple rocket engines. She had seen many strange things in her years of service, but nothing quite like this. "It looks so old," she whispered to herself, then realized her comm was still open to the Council flagship. Admiral Hyunwoo heard her comment and had to agree. The human vessel appeared to be built from actual metal plates welded together. Thick armor covered its hull in layers, giving it a bulky, primitive appearance. Strange symbols were painted on its side in white letters that meant nothing to any of the galactic species present. "Run a detailed scan," ordered Commander Boram from his tactical station. "I want to know what we're dealing with." The results were shocking. The ship was powered by controlled nuclear fusion, a technology most species had abandoned centuries ago in favor of more advanced energy sources. Its weapons appeared to be kinetic devices that fired solid projectiles rather than energy beams. Strangest of all, its armor was made from refined metals and ceramic composites, instead of the living biomaterials or energy shields used by modern warships. "It's like looking at a museum piece that someone decided to make battle-ready," said Boram, his crystal skin flickering with confusion. Captain Sujin received permission to conduct a close flyby of the human vessel. Her small scout ship was fast and maneuverable, perfect for getting a closer look without seeming threatening. As she approached the strange ship, her scanners revealed even more peculiar details. The humans had actual windows on their bridge instead of holographic displays. She could see figures moving around inside, wearing what looked like simple uniforms rather than the complex environmental suits most species required for space travel. Their technology seemed to be a mix of advanced and primitive elements that made no sense according to galactic standards. "This is Scout Ship 12 to Starlight Oath," Sujin reported. "The human vessel is definitely real and definitely functional. But Admiral, their technology is unlike anything in our databases. They're using systems we haven't seen since the early days of space travel." Back on the Council flagship, communications were being established with the human ship. Ensign Minho, a young Centaurian with excellent language skills, was working with the humans to improve their galactic standard translation. "Admiral, I'm getting better communication now," reported Minho. "The human captain says his name is Tae-ho. He's requesting permission to assist us in the coming battle." "What kind of assistance can they provide?" asked Hyunwoo. He was grateful for any help, but one primitive ship against the entire Vorthon fleet seemed pointless. The answer came directly from Captain Tae-ho himself as the translation system improved. His voice was deep and steady, with an unusual accent that suggested his species had developed speech differently than other galactic races. "Admiral Hyunwoo, we are humans from the planet Earth. We detected your distress signals from several light years away. Our ship carries advanced weapons and experienced crew. We offer our assistance in your fight against the Vorthon Empire. Captain Tae-ho, We appreciate your offer, but you should understand the situation. The enemy outnumbers us 8-1. Their bioships can repair themselves and adapt to our weapons. This will likely be our final battle. There was a pause before Teho responded. When he did, there was something in his voice that made everyone on the council bridge pay attention. Admiral, humans have been fighting impossible odds for our entire history. We did not come this far to turn around at the first sign of trouble. If you will have us, we will fight alongside you. Commander Boram pulled up tactical displays showing the approaching Vorthan fleet. The enemy would arrive in less than 60 hours. Their bioships moved in perfect formation, sharing information through their neural link network. Each ship was a living creature bred for war, able to adapt and evolve during battle. Captain Teho, said Hyunwoo carefully, our enemy is not like others you may have faced. They learn from every attack we make. Their ships heal themselves. They coordinate perfectly through a shared mind. What makes you think your weapons will be more effective than ours? Another pause. Then Teho's voice came back with what sounded almost like amusement. Admiral, we have studied your battle records that were included in the distress signal. Your weapons are very advanced, but your tactics follow predictable patterns. You fight like you're trying to minimize damage to both sides. We fight to win. Lieutenant Jiwan, the human weapons officer, requested permission to transmit technical data about their armaments. What the council officers saw made them even more confused. The humans used simple kinetic weapons that fired chunks of metal at high speed. They had explosive devices based on chemical reactions. Their most powerful weapons were nuclear warheads that seemed primitive compared to quantum torpedoes. I don't understand, said Sujin over the comm from her scout ship. These weapons should be completely ineffective against bioarmor. The Vorthans will adapt to kinetic damage in minutes. Captain Teho's response revealed something important about human thinking. Captain Sujin, you assume we will keep using the same weapons in the same way. This is not how humans fight. We adapt faster than our enemies can evolve. When one approach fails, we try another. When that fails, we try something else. We never stop changing our methods until we find what works. As if summoned by their conversation, long-range sensors detected the Vorthon fleet dropping out of hyperspace at the system's outer edge. Over 200 bioships arranged themselves in hunting formations, their organic hulls pulsing with bioluminescent weapon systems. They looked like a swarm of angry sea creatures preparing to devour everything in their path. All ships battle stations, ordered Admiral Hyunwoo. Prepare for final engagement. The human ship moved to intercept the Vorthon fleet, taking position ahead of the council forces. Its primitive appearance seemed almost comical next to the advanced bioships, like a cave painting come to life in a gallery of modern art. Captain Teho, called Hyunwoo, you don't have to take point position. Your ship appears to be less heavily armored than ours. Admiral, our armor is different from yours, not necessarily weaker, and humans always lead from the front. It's who we are. Chief Engineer Daewon's voice came over the human ship's comm system as she reported to her captain. All weapons loaded and ready, sir. Fusion reactor at full power. Hull integrity at maximum. We're ready to show these aliens how Earth fights. Ensign Minho, monitoring the human communications, translated her words for the council bridge crew. The casual confidence in the human engineer's voice was remarkable given the odds they faced. The Vorthon fleet began its approach, bioships shifting into attack formation. Their neural link allowed them to move as one organism, perfectly coordinated and completely ruthless. They had destroyed countless civilizations using these same tactics. Captain Teho, said Commander Boram, the enemy will target you first since you're in the lead position. Their bioweapons are designed to disable and capture rather than destroy, so they can use your ship's materials to grow new vessels. Understood, Commander. We appreciate the warning. Do you wish to reconsider your position? The human captain's answer would become legendary among the surviving council forces. Commander, humans have a saying. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. We didn't travel across the galaxy to do nothing. As the Vorthon fleet closed to weapons range, Admiral Hyunwoo found himself hoping that these strange humans with their primitive technology and unusual confidence might somehow make a difference. His people had fought bravely for 3 years, but they had never faced an enemy quite like this. Perhaps it would take an ally quite unlike any other to turn the tide of war. The first Vorthon bioship entered firing range and began charging its organic weapons. The human ship responded by accelerating directly toward the enemy formation at what any reasonable commander would consider a suicidal speed. The battle for the galaxy was about to begin. Admiral Hyun-woo stared at the holographic display floating above his command table. Red dots showed enemy ships. Blue dots showed his own fleet. There were far too many red dots and far too few blue ones. He rubbed his scaled forehead with one clawed hand and sighed deeply. The war had been going on for 3 long years. The Galactic Council forces had fought bravely against the Vorthan Empire, but it was not enough. Every battle cost them ships they could not replace. Every victory came at a price too high to pay. The enemy seemed endless, their bioships healing themselves faster than his weapons could damage them. "Admiral?" called Captain Soo-jin from her station near the bridge windows. Her blue skin was pale with worry. "The latest casualty reports are in." Hyun-woo did not want to hear them, but he was the commanding officer. It was his duty to know. "Tell me." "We have lost 60% of our fleet, sir. The medical ships report over 2 million wounded across all species. Food supplies are running low on 7 colony worlds." Soo-jin's voice was steady, but her hands shook as she held the data pad. Commander Bo-ram, a tall being with 6 arms and crystal-like skin, moved closer to the hologram. His people, the Regelians, were known for their tactical skill. If anyone could find a way out of this mess, it would be him. "Admiral, I have run the numbers again. Our quantum torpedoes are barely scratching their bio-armor. Our plasma cannons heat up their ships, but they cool down and repair within hours." "What about our defensive formations?" asked Hyun-woo. "The Diamond Wall has protected our people for over 1,000 years. Bo-ram's crystalline face darkened. "The Vorthans adapt too quickly. Their neural link lets them share information instantly across their entire fleet. When we use the Diamond Wall, they learn how to break it within minutes. When we switch to the Starburst formation, they counter it before we can fire a second round." The bridge fell silent except for the soft humming of the ship's engines. Outside the windows, stars twinkled peacefully, giving no hint of the terrible war being fought among them. Other council ships drifted nearby, their hulls scarred from countless battles. Captain Soo-jin suddenly straightened at her station. Her comm unit was beeping urgently. "Admiral, incoming message. From Scout Ship 7, it's Captain Ji-hai on her, way back from the outer rim." "Put her through." The hologram shifted to show a tired-looking woman with short black hair and worried eyes. Her scout ship had been gone for 2 weeks, gathering intelligence on enemy movements. "Admiral, I have news. It's not good." "Tell me, Ji-hee." "The Vorthans are gathering everything they have left. Every bioship, every support vessel, every warrior they can find. They're massing at the edge of the Kepler sector for one final push toward Nexus Prime. Nexus Prime was the Council's last major stronghold in this part of the galaxy. If it fell, the war would be lost. Millions of civilians would be at the mercy of the Vorthans, who showed no mercy to anyone." "How long do we have?" asked Hyun-woo. 72 hours, maybe less." "Sir, I've never seen so many enemy ships in one place. They must have pulled forces from every front to make this happen." Commander Bo-ram was already working at his tactical station, running numbers through the ship's computers. After a few minutes, he looked up with grim news. "Admiral, if Captain Ji-hai's count is correct, the enemy will outnumber us 8-1. Our chances of success are less than 8%. The bridge crew exchanged worried looks. 8% was not really a chance at all. It was barely hope. "Sir," said Soo-jin quietly, "the council leaders are requesting an emergency meeting. Some of them are talking about surrender." Hyun-woo closed his eyes. Surrender meant the end of everything they had fought for. It meant billions of people under Vorthan rule. The enemy did not treat prisoners well. They turned captured worlds into breeding grounds for their bioships, using the local populations as raw material. "Set course for the council station," he ordered. "We'll hear what they have to say." As his flagship, the Starlight Oath, turned toward the massive space station where the council met, Hyun-woo tried to think of options. They could scatter their remaining ships, try to fight a guerrilla war from hidden bases. They could attempt to evacuate as many civilians as possible and retreat to the far edges of known space. They could make one last desperate attack on the Vortan fleet and hope for a miracle. None of these options seemed likely to work. The council meeting was as bad as he had expected. Representatives from dozens of species argued back and forth, their voices rising in panic. The Altarians wanted to fight to the last ship. The Centaurians suggested immediate evacuation. The Regellians proposed a negotiated surrender that might save some civilian lives. "We have given our best for 3 years," said Counselor Yeon Su, an elderly Centaurian with silver skin and wise eyes. "Our children are dying. Our worlds are burning. Perhaps it is time to accept that we cannot win this war. If we surrender now, those children will suffer far worse than death," replied Counselor Namgil, his Altarian scales flashing red with anger. "The Vorthons do not take prisoners. They take resources." The argument continued for hours. Hyunwoo sat in his chair, listening to the same points being made over and over. Outside the station windows, he could see his damaged fleet hanging in space like broken toys. These ships and their crews had given everything they had. Was it fair to ask them to die in a hopeless battle? A soft chime interrupted his thoughts. The station's sensors had detected something at the edge of the system. Lieutenant Wu Jin, the young sensor operator, looked puzzled as he read his displays. "Counselors, we have an unknown contact approaching from outside the system. It's large, moving fast, but the signature doesn't match anything in our databases." "Another Vorthon trick?" asked Namgil. "No, sir, it's definitely not Vorthon. The energy pattern is completely different. It's like nothing we've ever seen." All eyes turned to the main display as the unknown object came closer. It was indeed large, roughly the size of a council battleship, but its design was strange. Instead of the smooth organic curves favored by most galactic species, this ship had hard angles and flat surfaces. It looked almost primitive, like something built by a species that had just learned to work metal. "Attempt contact," ordered Hyunwoo. "Let's find out who our mysterious visitor is." The communications officer worked at his station for several minutes before getting a response. When it came, the voice was speaking Galactic Standard, but with an accent none of them had ever heard. "This is United Earthship Indomitable. We are humans. We have detected signs of conflict in this system. Do you require assistance?" Hyunwoo looked at his fellow council members. None of them had ever heard of humans or Earth, but at this point, with defeat staring them in the face, any help was better than none. "Unknown vessel, this is Admiral Hyunwoo of the Galactic Council. We are at war with the Vorthon Empire. Any assistance would be greatly appreciated." "Understood, Admiral. We are moving to intercept Vorthon forces. Please transmit tactical data." As the strange ship moved deeper into the system, Hyunwoo wondered what these humans could possibly do that his advanced fleet could not. Still, desperate times called for desperate measures. The war was about to take an unexpected turn,